It seems like everywhere you turn these days, AI image generation is blowing up. I mean, it's wild, right? People creating some really beautiful, really creative art with just a few clicks.
Yeah.
And maybe this is just me. Sometimes it feels a little bit like you're playing a game of Pictionary
Mm-hmm.
with a robot who's never actually been to the real world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally, totally. You're spot on, right? There's this gap between what we can picture, like in our heads, and what the AI can actually output.
Exactly, yeah. And being the curious soul that I am, I always want to dig into like the why behind things. Like, why is this happening? And thankfully, we've got this open AI research paper
Yeah.
that really gets into this. And what I love is it's looking at something that seems so basic, image captions,
Right.
as this like secret weapon to unlock a whole other level of artistry.
Yeah, and it's something that we kind of just glance over, right? You look at an image, you see the caption, you're like, oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense. I didn't even think twice that that's how the AI kind of understands what's going on in the image.
Yeah, it's like if you think about the difference between just seeing a sign that says Paris versus like actually, wandering through the Louvre, one is just like a label.
Yes.
The other is like this full-on experience.
Exactly. And the thing is, most of these data sets that AI models learn from have those very basic captions, like
Yep.
cat on a couch
Yeah.
or like man eating a sandwich, which is fine for recognizing the objects,
Right.
but it doesn't really capture the feeling or the nuance.
Exactly. It's like trying to write a hit song
Uh-huh.
using only like a dictionary, right? You might have all the right words, but where's the story?
Yeah.
Where's the soul?
Yeah, where's the meat? Right. So these researchers basically looked at how to give AI a crash course in, well, artistic description. They came up with this really cool system that generates what they call descriptive synthetic captions. And these are incredibly detailed, almost
Okay.
like poetic descriptions of an image. And the idea is that this gives the AI a much richer understanding of what's going on visually.
Wait, are they teaching AI to be like art critics now?
Yeah.
This piece evokes a sense of, I mean, I'm probably exaggerating a little, but how does this even work?
So think of it this way, okay? They basically took two types of AI and combined them. One is what's called a CLIP model, which
Right.
is really good at like understanding the content of images. It's kind of like the AI's eyes, And then they paired that with a language model, which is great at generating text. So you can think of that as like the AI's voice.
Gotcha.
And when you put them together, they can basically analyze an image and translate that visual information into these really, really rich, detailed descriptions.
So instead of just like a dog,
Mm.
this AI critic is saying a majestic German shepherd bathed in the golden light of,
Exactly. And they actually have a perfect example in the paper. They show a picture of a bathtub, right? Like pretty mundane,
Yeah.
And the original caption is something like, now at victorianplumbing.co.uk, which doesn't really tell you anything about the picture.
Yeah, not exactly Michelangelo over here.
Yeah, right. But then they show you their AI-generated caption, and it says, this luxurious bathroom features a modern freestanding bathtub in a crisp white finish. The tub sits against a wooden accent wall with glass-like panels, creating a serene and relaxing ambiance. I mean, it even mentions, like, pendant light fixtures and a potted
Oh,
plant.
wow. So we went from zero to spa day real quick.
Yeah, exactly. And what the researchers found is that when you feed the AI these detailed captions, it has a huge impact on the art that it's able to create.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. But before we dive into all the juicy details, let's take a quick break.
Welcome back. We've got these AI-generated super captions that sound like they belong in, like, an interior design magazine.
Yeah.
But the real question is, do they actually make the art any better? Because, I mean, we're not going for, like, well-written captions here. We want stunning visuals.
Of course. Yeah, that's exactly what the researchers wanted to see, right?
Yeah.
So they set up this experiment, kind of like an art school classroom,
They had different AI models. You can think of them as the art students, each with different skill levels. And instead of giving them paintbrushes, they fed them these different types of captions.
Okay, so we've got our control group, right? The students who are using the, this is a tree captions.
Right.
And then we've got
And we've got our groups using these like AI-generated masterpieces that we were talking about, both the short and the descriptive versions.
Okay.
But here's a really cool part, is they use this really kind of sophisticated scoring system to track how well the AI is actually following those instructions.
Interesting.
So it's like grading the art students on how well they understood the assignment,
Gotcha. So like a higher score means that the AI is creating exactly what that caption described, right? Like if the caption says a cat wearing a monocle riding a unicycle on a tightrope and the AI nails it, That's a high score.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And what they found is actually super interesting is that the models that were trained on those super detailed captions were consistently producing images with, way higher scores.
So basically, more detailed instructions,
Yeah.
more clear vision for the AI, case closed.
Well, not so fast, you see, because they found something really kind of curious, is that if you only use the AI-generated captions, the art can start to look,
A little robotic.
yeah, a little samey, a little, it's like those art students only ever study one particular artist, so they get really good at copying that style.
Yeah.
But they don't really have their own voice,
100%. It's like those AI-generated pop songs.
Right.
They all kind of have that same sound, even though they're technically, like, proficient, it's catchy, but it's missing that special something.
Exactly, exactly. So to get around that, what they found is that, like, blending the captions worked best.
Interesting.
So they would mix in a small percentage of real human-written captions with the AI-generated ones. It's like giving those art students a few classic masterpieces
Right.
to study along with their, super detailed instruction manuals.
I love that.
Kind of broadens their horizons a little bit,
It's all about that balance, right?
Yeah,
like enough detail to kind of like guide the AI, but also enough variety to keep things fresh.
Exactly.
Okay, so they've improved these AI models in this like experimental setting.
Right.
But they didn't just stop there, did they?
Yeah.
Like this is where things get really interesting for those of us who like to see this in action.
Oh, absolutely. They took what they learned and they applied it to something that you might have heard of, DALL-E 3.
DALL-E 3. Okay, now we're talking the rock star of AI image generators. I can only imagine what it can do with these super captions.
Hold on to your hats because the results were super impressive. They basically put DALL-E 3 through a bunch of tests, compared it to all the other, like, top-tier AI image generators.
Yeah.
And when you give it those really detailed kind of upsampled prompts, that's what they call them.
Okay, upsampled prompts. Now there's a phrase that makes me want to know more.
Right.
What is that?
So this is where it gets really cool for those of us who aren't like coding geniuses, but still want to create awesome AI art, right? So remember how those super detailed descriptions, those really rich captions led to better images?
Yeah.
Well, the researchers figured out that tools like GPT-4, have you heard of GPT-4?
Vaguely.
It's this language whiz, right?
Okay.
They can be used to generate those kinds of captions automatically.
Wait, hold on. So you're telling me GPT-4 can take my simple little prompt like cat wearing a hat
Right.
and turn it into something like masterpiece worthy.
Imagine this. A fluffy Persian cat with emerald green eyes, perched regally upon a velvet cushion, sporting a miniature top hat adorned with a single shimmering ruby.
Okay, stop. My brain is like exploding right now. I'm like picturing myself as some kind of AI art director, right?
Yeah.
And I've got GPT-4 as my right-hand man, you know? And I'm just feeding it all my wild ideas and it's spitting out pure creative gold.
That's the potential here. That's
Yeah.
exactly it, right? It's not just AI creating better art in isolation.
Yeah.
It's about AI empowering us to be more creative, to have more control over that creative process.
I love it. But I have a feeling like with any good story, there's got to be some challenges, right? There's got to be some limitations, even for something as incredible as DALL-E 3.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've seen how these supercharged captions are basically like giving AI art this turbo boost.
Yeah.
But even with all of these advancements, even with DALL-E 3 leading the pack, there were still like some speed bumps on the road to AI art perfection, right?
Yeah, for sure. Even the most advanced AI models still have those limitations.
Right.
And one area where they kind of consistently struggle is something that we humans often take for granted, and that's spatial reasoning.
You mean like, when you try to give someone directions and they just kind of stare at you blankly?
Exactly.
It's like, it's just past the big tree on the left, but before the blue mailbox, and you're like internally you're questioning if they understand the concept of left.
Yes, exactly. Things like to the left of, behind, underneath, all of those like spatial relationships can really trip up AI, even with like these incredibly detailed captions. Getting those really specific relationships right is still a challenge.
Yeah. So maybe don't rely on AI to like design your living room layout just yet.
Right.
Got it. Okay, so spatial reasoning, that's one thing. Is there anything else that tends to throw these AI artists off their game?
Well, there's another kind of quirk that we haven't really touched on yet, and that's AI's tendency to, well, let's say embellish the truth a little bit.
Embellish the truth. Okay, Is the AI like making up like stories about the subjects in the pictures now? Like adding a dramatic backstory to that bowl of fruit?
Not quite, no. It's more like the AI is kind of, it's filling in the blanks with its best guess, and sometimes that guess is not entirely accurate.
Okay.
So the paper gives an example with like plant species, right? So you might show the AI a botanical drawing of a flower, and the caption will be like, rare Himalayan bluebell, even if there's nothing in the drawing to suggest that.
It's like that friend who tells a story and every time, they tell it, it gets a little bit more epic.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like a sprinkle of artistic license. But with AI, those sprinkles can turn into a downpour.
Right, exactly. And it highlights something really important about this new world of AI-generated content is that we need to be, savvy consumers.
Yeah.
We need to kind of always keep in mind that what we're seeing might not be, the whole picture. It might not be entirely accurate.
It's a good reminder that we're still really in the early innings of the AI game here.
Yeah.
And just like with any new technology, there's a learning curve, both for the people creating it and the people using it.
Right, exactly.
But even with these limitations, I mean, it's clear that AI image generation has like some mind-blowing potential.
Oh, absolutely. As AI gets better at like really understanding the nuances of language
Yeah.
and translating that into like these really, really incredible visuals, it opens up these doors that we could only dream of before.
Right.
Imagine a world where anyone, regardless of their artistic skill, can just like describe what they're envisioning and have the AI create a stunningly realistic or even like a wildly imaginative image.
It's like that moment, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but when you're finally able to read, like those, like, those like really beautiful flowing cursive fonts.
Right.
It's like a whole world of like expression just opens up. And who knows, maybe someday we'll look back on these times where AI struggled with to the left of and just like, laugh about how far we've come.
Right, right. 100%. I can't wait to see, what we come up with.
Me neither.
Okay.
And there you have it, folks. Another deep dive into the world of AI, exploring not just the how, but the why behind these incredible images. We've gone from like basic image captions to AI art critics to the inner workings of DALL-E 3, and maybe, just maybe, we've caught a glimpse of the future of art itself. Until next time, keep those imaginations firing, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.